No pressure. I'd like to call this meeting for August 16th to order. Please stand.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please, Twyla.
Yes. Counselor Albert?
Here.
Counselor Kobe?
Here.
Counselor Ward?
Here.
Counselor McKeever is excused. Counselor Bickford?
Here.
Counselor Crafts?
Here.
And Counselor Brunel.
Here.
Next item, please, Twyla.
Is good news and recognition?
I got nothing.
And next item, please.
Is audience participation and response for agenda items?
Dorothy Fitzgerald, Lisbon Falls. I see Davis Street sidewalk is on the agenda again. That river trail, the town had a $320,000 bond. I don't know how much EPA, DEP, the state, and everyone else contributed. Is there any money left in that account for finishing up for anything else? Is the project completed other than Davis Street, which was not in the original project?
There's money left in the River Trail account, but that project has not been closed out yet.
How much money is left approximately?
There's a little over 8,000 in the account right now.
So what's going to happen to that? That just,
I don't know till the project's closed out.
okay. I see the BG is looking for $80,000. We had in 2016 a revitalization plan, shows poor sidewalks and a lot of things that needed fixing. Nothing is fixed. Looking for more money. I don't know what they plan on doing with all $400,000. And every revitalization we have, the town looks worse than it did before.
Thank you, Dot. Anybody else?
Hi, I'm Mark Lunt, former town councilor, and I just want to address the issue that the planning board is bringing before you tonight. And I did get a chance to look at their report that they prepared, and I agree with most all of what they've had to say, but there's one issue that I do have to take issue with, and that's, I don't know if you guys had a chance to read the report or not, but one of the items in there says, specifically with regard to the issue of auto sales, there was a general acknowledgement that residents could be open to considering some small expansion on auto sales and allowances. It's possible that small auto sales, such as for only 1, 2, or even a few cars, could be acceptable, though certainly a larger number of cars, parentheses 10 or more, seems to be unfavorable. I have a problem with this section because I don't know where these numbers came from. They don't reflect anything that I heard said at any forum, hearing, or in online discussions that have been going on. They seem to have come fully formed from the head of Mr. Fellows, like Athena from the head of Zeus. There's a vast gulf between having 1 car for sale on your lot and 9 cars. That's the difference between someone selling a car they've fixed up on their own and a commercial car lot. So I want to object on the record to the inclusion of this statement, and that does not reflect any consensus that were reached at these forums. No resident, other than the person who asked for the change in the first place, said they would support more than 2 cars. A half a dozen cars, repeated a half a dozen times, will turn Ridge Road into yet another Lisbon parking lot. Now, I do have a compromise idea of my own. Allow 1 car to be visible from the road and a larger number kept inside a building for sale. That way, if someone wants to keep a barn or showroom of cars for sale to collectors, let them. Just don't have paved paradise and put up more parking lots in Lisbon. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Anybody else? Next item, please, 12.
Is the consent agenda. Any counselor wishing to have an item removed may do so now. Order 2016-183 to approve the minutes of July 18, 2016, and August 3, 2016.
Or a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Order passed, 6-0.
Next item, please.
Under council orders, resolutions, and ordinances, Order 2016-184, the traffic speed frequency equipment.
Good evening. Permission to approach the bench, Your Honor?
Yes, sir.
Let's go, don't
Thank you.
Sir. Thank you.
What you have in front of you is the printout of a speed measuring device produced by JMAR. What this device does is it attaches to a stationary object to measure speed on roads, both coming and going. And the data here can be a little confusing, but just to give you the highlights, the first page shows the dates that the device was set out, where it was set out, the speed limit, and then the enforcement rate, the percentage of vehicles that were either speeding, whatever that cutoff will be, 10 miles an hour in this particular example. The second page is what I was going to show you in particular. It gives a breakdown of actually the times of day and days of the week that are the highest probability for speeding violations. So my proposal here is the speed trailer that you see on the side of the road in town is old, and the parts that actually measure and record the speeding results, you can't get those parts anymore. So what you're seeing is an actual speed, but that's all it's used for. It's a deterrent, and it shows everybody how fast they're going, if you will. So the benefit of this device is it gives actual data that we can enforce traffic laws with, and it's unmanned, meaning it can just be set there for a week, 2 weeks, a day, whatever we want, move it throughout the town, and it gives actual empirical data that we can do something with. So I propose that we use some drug forfeiture money and purchase this equipment. And just to give you an idea on speeding complaints, maybe some people in the room will disagree with me, but in 2015, we had 48 people calling, complaining about speeding on their roads. In 2016, we're already at 26 complaints. So I think this has a great need, if you will, and I think it would be it would enhance our speeding enforcement efforts.
Next question. This
Device.
device, whatever, apparatus, whatever, will that be taking pictures of the cars coming down through, or how will you?
Only people who live on Edgecombe Road. No.
That's all right. That doesn't bother me at all.
Sounds like
No,
profiling.
no, it doesn't. It just gives the speed of the vehicle.
And how
coming,
often?
coming and going.
Right.
So you can say, so that way you can say, northbound traffic on a Monday, we have a higher problem with speeding as opposed to southbound traffic. So it'll back up what residents are saying, but it also gives us an idea of when to put somebody out there. Because when somebody says, cars go by my house speeding all the time, we can actually put this out there and say, actually, it's this time of day.
Right.
And we can put somebody out there. Because the problem with putting a cruiser out there to try to gauge this, it's, as soon as you see the cruiser, I mean, it's, So this way, it's a box that nobody will actually even pay attention to, and it'll only take pictures, no pictures. It's just a speed measuring device. But actually, the brains of it are what are impressive. And, I mean, there's more data there than you need to see, but I wanted you to see everything that we have to go by.
Well, I think this is about efficiency of placing your resources.
Absolutely.
Understanding, just putting it out to get a data pattern, a base, if you will. And then after that, understanding, well, here's where we can see, like you said, optimum times to try to at least enforce and maybe raise that presence, get people to slow down, or at
Absolutely.
least get some folks. So, yeah, the value's there. I can see that for sure.
No complaints from me. I was one of the 26 complaints.
Me too.
And my street's a dead end. Where the hell is this person going?
Edgecombe Road.
When he flipped me off and turned around and came back, then that's where I called. I'm on board.
Good.
It's all coming, just so we're clear, the public knows, it's coming out of forfeiture money.
Yes.
Not, okay, so that's
right.
Great, perfect.
How many can we afford, Scott?
I think one is all we really need.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd like to say we need, we could have 5, but I think one's fine.
Test it and move it around periodically.
That's right.
Right, because what you're looking for is the data to be able to then man it after the fact.
Right. And there's no training component, if you will, meaning there's no schools to go to or to send anybody away to. It's really easy to use.
Plug and play, just set it up, starts giving you your data, and then from there you can start to
Right.
put an action plan together.
Yep.
Perfect.
Motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Order passed, 6-0.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
That was in stereo.
Right on.
Next item, please.
Order 2016-185, Planning Board, Route 9, feedback and conclusions.
Come on up.
I'm a little reluctant to come up here. I might get shot. I don't know. Head of Zeus, come on. Mark, you're at it again.
Well, it's better than a bully.
What to say except to ask you, has everybody read the letter?
Yes.
Yes.
Does everybody understand what they read? There's a lot of words there. If I could skip, well, there's a famous paragraph apparently in there that talks about, specifically with regard to the issue of auto sales. It was at the forum that we had at the school that there was face-to-face discussion with people who are directly involved that said that only if one or two or even a few cars, very limited, might be accepted. That was the format that occurred. Now, what it means is another thing, but that's where it occurred. The conclusions, though, I want to go all the way to that and say basically that some changes to home occupations could happen. In home occupations, our definition currently doesn't allow auto sales because we specifically wrote it in there. But under certain very limited conditions, home occupations could be modified to do it. We're not recommending it. In the meantime, well, also the process of updating the comprehensive plan is coming soon. It should be coming sooner rather than later. It is possible to do this whole updating process when the comprehensive plan is done. That will not happen this year because it's a long process. And if the planning board, along with Amanda's help, does it, then it will take probably a full year, wouldn't you imagine, to do. So I guess what I would say personally is it's really up to you guys, you people, you folks, to decide what you want the planning board to do going forward. If you want the planning board to develop an ordinance or change an ordinance, change the zoning ordinance that allows under home occupations this particular action, or if you want us to amend the comprehensive plan, or if you want to do, as I've heard, spot zoning, legal spot zoning. That's a whole other issue. But it's up to you to do. I suggest, though, that the process for an amendment of the chapter is if you, as the town council, want to tell us by direction that we need to develop an ordinance, that's great, we'll do it. I can't guarantee you that the planning board will pass it. We'll vote on it, we'll see where it goes. I don't have any preconceived ideas as to what's going to happen with it, because it would need a thorough investigation of the law. If we don't pass it, you certainly can take it up and pass it too, except you'd need a 2/3 majority to do it. So that's what that amounts to. Also, if it's a home occupations revision, and I haven't talked to Amanda about it, but if it's a home occupations revision that you are asking us to do, I would ask that our attorney look at our definition of home occupations before proceeding, because there are some test court cases out there that MMA has mentioned in their manuals, that some definitions, specifically with regard to auto sales, get those towns in trouble when they put them under home occupations. So, in the very least, I think our definition should be run by the attorney beforehand. So that's that. And if you decide nothing, then as far as the planning board is concerned, the matter has died. Would you like to comment? Okay. Questions? You got the questions. I'm not answering them.
I think I would like to talk amongst the council for a week or two, and then make a decision the next meeting. There's a lot to do, and I'm in favor of rewriting the comprehensive plan, because I can see it's a little bit outdated.
There's no question it needs to be
And
updated.
It needs, you know, the last time it was wrote, there used to be car sales at the end of it, in Route 9, and they took it out by mistake, and now nothing can happen. But that's not here, they're not there. But I think the council ought to talk amongst themselves to see what's going on. And Mr. McTivia wants to be involved in this conversation very much. So I think since he's not here today, he's visiting family, I think that it would be good to talk amongst ourselves, and then if we're going to vote on anything or do anything, it will be the next meeting.
You alluded to some questions on the home occupations, but you said they weren't recommending any. Were they the number of cars, the kind of thing, or what were you looking at for ideas? They run the gamut, or?
We haven't really voted on anything, but we've said that there could be a situation where maybe a home occupation might allow vehicles where they weren't even visible.
Similar to what Mark was talking about.
Yeah. Yes. There's a scenario, maybe one could be out front, there could be a sign, there could be a stunning example of what's available with everything else hidden. But the thing that you have to remember about doing that is it's not just one person. It's every person is allowed to do that, unless you restrict it to just Route 9. And that's another fairness thing, too, you need to consider. So,
I look at that as an equity, and the fact is, why would you do?
well, exactly.
I mean, it's
So,
we already have the 196 corridor. You start putting corridors on things, it just seems counterproductive to have it all over the place.
Yeah.
And it runs
which in
counter
its-
to your
which in itself
comprehensive plan as well.
which in itself means maybe reviewing the comp plan in its entirety, including that, would be the way to go. I don't know what you want to do, but
No, just
you have comments, please.
Comments, yeah,
But- please.
No, in terms of any specifics on home occupation, we didn't get into any serious discussion, and we didn't want it to go too far until we got more direction from the council. But it's trying to react to where's the balance is. We know that there is some interest. We know that the response was, the importance of the visual character and the residential character. So certainly anything on Route 9 or other areas has to be, the balance is you have to try to figure out a way to allow that use and still maintain the residential character, which
Right.
may be challenging. It raises certain issues with code enforcement. If you have that many extra layers of things that you are required to do, it's that many extra things that the code enforcement officer has to try to keep up with. It will be challenging, but it could probably something could be worked out. We're just not sure
Not
what
prepared
it would
to address
be.
it now.
No, and
Right.
How many cars? Who knows? 2 cars, maybe 10 cars is obviously too many. Nobody's really gone down that road, but I think the key finding is, if any options are considered, is really responding to the overwhelming majority of folks who said the residential character was very important.
Right.
So we have to keep a careful eye on that one.
I think that was a fair assessment of the events that actually played out at LES. Back to Mr. Lunt's dialogue at the beginning, there was one table associated with that. It was not the table that myself or Norman were sitting at, but there was one that was actually receptive to at least having that dialogue. So I think your statements associated with that is a fair assessment. No.
And I didn't attend the other public, but was it more of the same, would you say, since you were there, would the majority vote would be that maintain the integrity of the rural charm that was in the residential appeal, or would you say there was more? I just want to make sure I understand it, because I was only at one of those hearings.
My recollection when we had the hearing was, if I'm remembering correctly, we heard mostly folks that wanted to keep Route 9 as is, but we did also hear directly from
The applicant.
the
Right.
The person that would be there.
the original requestee.
Right,
So
right.
we heard a little bit of that, so I think that was good for the board to hear where that was coming from, and it's understandable. But again, the planning board has to go back to individual needs are important, but the bigger picture is usually where the planning board is at.
I mean, it's the thing to me that comes to mind first is impact. And while we want to give everybody the opportunity, like you said, individual need, what impact does that have long-term, large, if it, does it open a door that all of a sudden we're going to have, 5 of these? Because if they have it, why can't I have it? And then it becomes a whole host of, we'll be sitting here talking about that a lot. So I think measure twice, cut once on this is probably the best way to go. Do a lot of research before we make any decisions and talk amongst ourselves and figure out what might be the next step.
One of the things I wanted to say was that we, as the board, fully realize that this is a very serious matter for those both opposed and those who want to open it up. So it's not the immediate action is going to make anybody happy. But, so I think thinking about it, maybe digesting it a while, what you want to do, if anything, and then let us know what you want.
I'm going to put my 2 cents out there. In my honest opinion, I think we're beating a dead horse.
No, we've been beating a dead horse.
Exactly. I think we've wasted too much time on this issue, and I don't see what another week is really going to do going forward. So,
Well, we've got the co-chair wants to say his 2 cents too. So, but I want to say one more thing too. And I've discussed this with Don and Dennis's office. We're talking about one person who wants to sell 2 or 3 cars. Doesn't have a minimal impact on anything. But if somebody the size of Dingley Press had bought some property up there and wanted to put a plan in up there, the planning board would be falling over themselves trying to get that through. There's no doubt about it. And that is not right. One individual, a big corporation doesn't have more rights than one individual.
but
That's
the-
why all I want to
but
do is
the-
just talk about it.
No.
The same thing
I think it's
happens-
fair to talk about anything,
Yeah.
Roger, absolutely.
but in vice versa with that, it's not fair that one person changes all of Route 9.
No, I don't really, and he doesn't want to change the whole of Route 9.
No, but it opens up the door for other people to come in
Basically,
and
the
say,
only
you
thing-
did it.
The only reason he has to do this is because the state now mandates that he has to do this to get his dealer plates.
But there's plenty of space on 196 as well.
But it would cost, do you know how much it costs to get dealer plates? He has to buy a piece of property. The garage has to have a septic system or sewer. He would be spending $100,000 more to sell a few trucks, and he's got everything right there.
I think you're spot on. So talking about it having dialogue on it, but like, even though we are, in your opinion, beating a dead horse,
Yeah.
I'm okay with, I think most of us are all probably pretty much okay with,
Well, basically, what I
going-
want to do, I don't want the planning board to go back and rush through this.
right.
But basically, we can just say, look, just kind of work it in your spare time. See what you can do, because the comp plan has got to be rewrote. There's no doubt about that, and Don knows it. And I've been here for 6 years, and we've been bashing Route 9 for 6 years. And the only way that somebody gets anything on Route 9 is if they do it and comes to the council and says, I'm sorry. That's the only way they get it. But Rick did it the right way. He came up front and asked. And believe me, in this town, the other way is usually the way people get things done. And that's, I've been there for a long time. But, I'd like to discuss it, talk it with Eric a little bit, and then we can have a vote on it in a week. And all it is going to do is just let them keep it Move it.
dialogue.
I think
Open dialogue.
they deserve it just as much as anybody else does.
Yeah.
Don't- I got no problem with that. I
Just an
think,
open dialogue, keep it going.
You did mention at one point, somebody said, the lawyer said it could be done, or I don't
Yeah.
know what you were referring to. If you were referring to contract zoning, that is a,
It would have to be an ordinance change.
That's
and
an
then-
ordinance
then the
change.
Fran would ha-
and,
all that would be-
and contract zoning is something that's meant for, A, consistent with the comp plan, and B, benefits the entire town.
Right.
So whether that
No, that-
works or not is
no.
another thing. So, anyway,
That's what I want.
the dead horse may be coming to life, I don't know, but I know that a lot of the residents of that area feel that we've been beating this for a long time.
Yeah.
So we need to make a decision, and you need to make a decision, and
Well, next week,
Let us know.
next meeting, we'll make the decision, yes or no.
thank you.
Very good. Thank you both.
thanks for all your work.
Yeah, go ahead, Larry. Still have open public session, right?
Go ahead.
This is Larry Fillmore from Lisbon. There are a couple issues here that nobody's mentioned, not at all. And one is through the findings of the planning board in 2012. Survey says, public hearing, workshop. The majority of the people said, do not mess with Route 9. Whoa! The last time I looked, there were 7 councilors. The reason being is because it's a democracy, and the majority rules. But in this case, one person rules, and we're bending over everything and disregarding our foundings and everything else to satisfy one individual. Now, the second part is the land use table says no used cars in this zoning. So when you do home occupation to get around so this one family can have this, one is you're violating that. So now we got to change that. And we keep changing and changing. We're going to have to change everything. If we want to do it right, let's finish this right now. Put it on the agenda for when we do the comprehensive plan, and quit messing around with it. The majority of the people spoke. That should have been the end of it the first time. Now it's 4 times later, and we're still screwing it for one person. Thank you, Roger.
All right. Next item, please.
Order 2016-186, request to bid projects.
Good evening. Here to request the list of projects on the memo that you received. First item is the Houston Street drainage. We've got a storm drain pipe there that's collapsing that we need to put out to bid to have repaired. We budgeted to insulate the Lisbon Falls hose tower, Lisbon Falls Fire Station hose tower. I'd like to put that out to bid, as well as the MTM Center gym doors. Those are the, it'd be like the storefront double glass doors to match the windows that we did. And then it's been a while, so we wanted to put out our IT support services and our HVAC service contracts just to see what prices are every 4 or 5 years. We try to go out and test the waters, and like to have permission to put together an RFP and do that as well. So,
Everything's budgeted, right?
yeah, I mean, it's just a matter of
Giving him permission to actually do his job.
Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Order passed, 6-0.
Next item, please.
Order 2016-187, discontinuing winter maintenance.
At the town council meeting workshop on July 18th, we discussed discontinued roads or roads that had minimal, minimal citizenry, I guess. I mean, there are very few houses on these roads, but in particular, we mentioned a couple parcels that the town has been maintaining that they don't actually own, and so the consensus, it seemed at the workshop, was for us to move forward with the process of discontinuing winter maintenance on those locations, and to make that formal, we're here to ask for a vote so we can move forward with that process with the town attorney, notify the abutters or the folks that have been receiving the benefit for years, and see what that process unfolds.
Refresh my memory, what was Halsey?
Hasey's-
Hasey Street, where's that one
Hazy
again?
Street. It's off from Ferry Road. If you're headed out from Village, after you go Pinewoods Road, there's a little dirt road off to the right. And during, I believe it was a planning board review for daycare or something out there.
Oh, okay,
It was
got it.
determined that the roadway wasn't actually owned by the town. And then the other one is the area surrounding the municipal parking lot in the falls.
I want to say that as we've talked with the attorney, it's state statute, that it's against the law for us to maintain any properties that we do not own. I would have liked to go on and done a little bit more on this, because it was one of my things when I first got here, on old county roads and stuff, but we can't right now, so we can do these two things.
What's the short answer on why we can't? Because I know there was a much longer list.
Yeah, it was, it's just, we have to go and get a committee, hire a committee to go out and tell people why, or make a, what is it on, you can explain
Right,
better.
if we currently are maintaining a road that we own, then we have to actually hire an appraiser to go out and assess it, and then we have to pay damages to all the abutters.
That was what, I was reading the legal opinion.
Right, that's the legal
So
opinion.
Hasey, we're currently not
Right, we don't
plowing, so
own
that's
this-
why,
the-
so
all
we're
the
not
other
taking on more
ones that-
liability,
Right.
is what you're
We
saying.
have been plowing it, but it's not,
Right.
but we don't own it.
We don't own it.
So they want to stop plowing.
Yeah. But the other list that Ryan was talking about.
Right.
That we were gonna look at, as far as we know, we own all of those roads. So in order to discontinue it, we'd have to
We
follow
have to go through the
state
protocol that,
statute,
I got you.
and it would be
That-
way too
that's-
expensive, so. So the only two that we need to act on are these two items here that we don't own, but we're plowing.
Now, at that workshop, particularly with the parking lot, has it been hashed out who owns what with the property lines that we talked about?
We haven't discussed this with any of the property owners.
So you're just
It's-
asking to move forward
Correct. We
associated
didn't
with the
want-
pro,
If the
okay.
council wasn't on board with, officially moving forward with this process, we weren't gonna stir up what we didn't need to stir up. But
So property lines, yet to be determined, could still be a snafu in this, could cause some
According
headaches.
to the property tax maps that we have, it's pretty clear that it's just, the only property that the town owns is a straight strip that goes in all the way basically from Main Street to where the old CarQuest building was.
For us, it's straightforward. For the actual businesses
Well,
that
that's
are
what I'm saying, the
impacted
business,
with that,
all it
it's-
takes is one business owner to
You're
say
right.
no, and then
But we
I wanna
can
challenge
provide
that.
an overlay of that
Right.
parking lot that shows what
Right.
portion that they own.
Right.
It may not be precise, they would
Right.
have to look at their deeds, but we can provide that for them.
Okay. And then, of course, we're gonna, obviously, I know I saw it in the language, we're gonna notify them to say, hey, this
Absolutely.
is what's coming, so prepare for it now.
We just didn't want to do that without a formal vote from you.
Right,
that's
understood,
all.
understood.
I have no issue with moving the topic forward, because I'm assuming there'd be a workshop to be able, not workshop, or public hearing specifically with some of these things option. What protocol do we have to go follow? Notify with abutters, and what else is involved? Do they have the opportunity to
I
come
don't think
here?
we have to have a public hearing, but I'll verify that.
I suspect,
need
and I'm
to-
just shooting from the hip here, and based on,
I'm just thinking
what
the
I
downtown
suspect's gonna
businesses.
happen
I'm
is that
expecting
there's
they're
gonna
gonna be
be-
pissed off and want to be
I
standing here.
suspect that we'll have a
Public hearing.
group meeting with them.
Yeah.
Right.
Because it's, and there's still questions that I have with that area with how did it ever get to the point that it's at now? And with the streetlights and everything else, is there some sort of an agreement? I mean, we've looked back and unable to find any formal agreement, but how did we get to where we're at now? And I'm hoping
Right.
having these discussions with some of the property owners, we may be able to get some answers as well.
I remember that part of the dialogue too, when you were talking about sidewalks and lighting all the way up Main
All the
Street.
lighting in the
So
back is all off the same.
taking it down with the MDOT project's one thing, but what's the expectation for putting it back, and how does that actually play into this whole process too?
I will tell you, I was looking at a picture that I've got hanging up at the house of my older brother. And it was during the Frontier Day parade, way back. And a lot of the streetlights are the same now as they were there. So this agreement might have been that far back.
Right.
So, you know, I would say go ahead with it, but I got a feeling you're gonna have to go
Yep.
way back.
And that was the point we needed to make sure that,
Yeah.
I mean, from the workshop phase to now, have a formal vote so we can move forward.
Seems like the vote drives this thing to the next step, so
Yep.
makes sense.
We'll move forward.
Yep.
The motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Order passed, 6-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, please.
Order 2016-188, public hearing for road bond.
So the next three items on the agenda, all you're doing is setting the public hearing for September 6th, 2016. And then following that, the next three items are, you need to make a recommendation on these three issues. Because we need to include that in the language, whether you recommend it or you don't recommend it.
So it's probably prudent just to open up and close the public hearings one at a time? Probably prudent to do the public hearings one at a time, just see if anybody
Well, all
out there
you're doing
wants to
tonight,
speak.
you're not doing
We're
a
not,
public
just setting
hearing,
it.
you're just setting the
Setting
date.
it.
Just setting
Setting
it.
the
Setting
date
it.
for it.
Yep.
Even easier.
So we can actually
Do them all at once.
do
if
them
you-
all at once.
Yeah, tie them all into one and just do it, yeah.
Yep, set 3 public hearings.
Yeah.
The date for,
That'd be great.
is it
September
September
6th.
Yeah, September
And
6th.
you want to put the council, the recommendations on the same?
If you want, you can, and you can say, set the public hearing for September 6, 2016, and council recommends favorable action or unfavorable action.
Okay.
You can do it all in one vote if
All
you
right,
want.
September
I think it'd
6th.
be prudent, based on your timeline, to actually try to do it the same night.
Okay. All right. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
So is it for favorable or unfavorable? Are you doing both, setting the
Yeah.
public hearing and then making the
Right. Yeah.
recommendation?
Yes.
I think
So
that's
what's
what-
the recommendation?
Want to do that first?
Yeah, I guess we can.
Well, we should probably all talk about it and make sure that we're all on the same page before we,
Yeah, go ahead.
are we?
But you can second the
we've
motion
talked- we've
and then
talked quite a bit
discuss
about
it.
Yeah, I'm just
know,
saying,
well,
that, well, we've
The
talked,
legal,
yeah.
the legal opinion with the third one is the one that catches my eye associated with that, and that may add a wrinkle to what we talked about at the workshop.
But the recommendation for charter amendments?
Yeah, I mean, Dan doesn't think the time frame actually is gonna work based on what we had talked about, fleshing out for the, charter change dialogue.
Yeah, we were talking amendments in that workshop, and this is full-blown, we would need a charter
Right.
commission, and so it's a completely different animal altogether. Completely different animal. I'm not saying that we shouldn't go at it, but I'm just saying it's a lot bigger discussion than what we're talking about with just amendments.
Right, and the charter amendments that you'll be voting on tonight to set a public hearing doesn't include anything with regards to the school budget.
Right,
They're
right.
just-
Those would be amendments that,
Right.
two separate things, and I
Right.
think it's important that you point that out. What we're talking about for these amendments to set the hearing on are not part of that.
Exactly.
What we were
Piece of the
talking-
dialogue.
Piece of the dialogue for,
Right.
no charter changes would have to happen, I should say, charter commission would need to be formed to make these
Right.
amendments, so.
Exactly.
So we'll hold off till the 6th?
So basically, what we're talking about is the 250. The summary associated with the charter
Yeah, you-
change. The recommendations we talked about, other than the school, is summarized down to that,
Right,
correct?
Right, you're doing three different things. You're doing the,
Yeah, the 100 to 250.
Yeah, the first-
schools' major appropriations, our major appropriations, and the date on the capital plan that the council has to approve, changing that from March to July. That's the only thing.
Beyond that, I'm not comfortable. I would like to keep that to be the recommendation for that.
Right, and that's all there is. That's all you'd be voting on tonight are those charter changes.
Correct.
Those charter amendments. Nothing
See,
else
I
is
wasn't the ol-
included.
I wasn't the only one getting stuck on that, see?
No, it's just,
It does
Agreed.
not include a charter revision.
So why
That's-
is that included in the packet then?
because we asked for an
Because
illegal
Asked for a
opinion.
legal
you asked
opinion
for a
from-
legal opinion, and I just provided it on there.
Okay.
I mean,
Because had he, if you were able to do that, he would have provided you with language, and that would have been included
part
with
of the
amendments.
recommendation.
I think our takeaway from that workshop was that he was going to go back, because the understanding was,
That's
we
right.
tried to see if we could,
That's
we had
right.
talked about these amendments that were, these three already, and we talked about adding that fourth if it was possible, and what that would look like, and then the timeline came into play there, and he said, I need to do some more research to understand
Right.
state statute better.
Yep.
And so that's when,
Right.
I think the opinion came up, so that's good. At least we know it now, know what we're up against and what we need to do.
So the vote tonight is to set the public hearing for those other ones.
Yep.
Yep.
And the bonds, and to either recommend favorable or unfavorable action on those three items.
I thought we had a motion on the floor.
Did you?
Yes.
Was it for favorable?
For yes.
Yeah.
wasn't
Yes.
it?
Okay, sorry.
Yes.
And then
Missed that.
Norm started discussing it, which would trigger
Well, Norm, you
him
going
as
to
a
second it?
second.
Second the favorable?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll second the favorable on the three charter amendments that, as discussed.
That's what I have on.
All in favor?
Thank you for
Would have
clarification.
passed 6-0.
We took the long, we definitely took the long way around the barn on that one.
Get used to the
Jumped
left
ahead on
turns.
this.
Next item, please.
All right, so would it be the Order 2016-194, auditing other services?
Correct.
Did we do that right?
Good evening, Ed Karas, Finance Director. Over the past couple of months, we've incurred extra costs at my direction from our auditing firm, as I had them do some other procedures that were necessary and are necessary to facilitate the year-end audit. Again, as we muddle through, I guess, with challenges and resources, staffing, and putting up a new system, I got to the end of the year, and there were a number of tasks that still were not finished that needed to be addressed. At that point, I took it upon myself to engage RHR's consulting division to come in and lend some assistance to help catch up. As of the current time, I think we've probably incurred about $13,000 in costs. They're probably going to increase, I would say, somewhere between 18 and maybe 20,000. Additionally, we had overrun our budget last year. So the council is really facing, I think, a deficit in our auditing budget of about $23,000. The problem that I have is that the books need to be closed, the books need to be kept current, and under the present circumstances of resources and workload, it's just not possible. And so I think that the town probably will be somewhat dependent upon some contracted services for a protracted period of time. We will get to a point, I guess, when the Munis system is fully implemented that perhaps there may be some relief to that. However, as we are finding with certain of our revenues, there is a lot of growth going on in the economy here in Lisbon, at least as evidenced through the excise tax collections, which indicate that the economy is really moving forward. that there will be more economic activity, hopefully, in the town. Also, we must realize that on the municipal level, here in the town office, it's just not a matter of resource outflow. We are also responsible for the collection, processing, depositing, and accounting for all the revenues that come into the town, and then the ultimate distribution of the resources that you folks approve for expenditure in the school department and the other municipal departments that comprise municipal services here in Lisbon. Regretfully, I probably should have come forward sooner in the year to let you know what the status was. I had hoped to be able to catch up. However, it just was not possible.
What additional services did you have to contract them for, Ed?
I have them actually doing some of the town's accounting.
Okay. Bank recons or the same?
Bank recons and some of the other accounting issues that I don't have any resources to hand off to. I hope that with all the moves that we are making, that in the future this might be alleviated. Primarily, I have spent most of the winter right through the summer, right up through current, trying to get our banking relationships in a more manageable place, better invest the money that we do have that is idle, and all of that takes some energy. I think we have made great progress. I think as we met with Androscoggin Bank this last week, we've taken the over 40 bank accounts that we have, and we're now down to 16, and actually made plans this last week to shut down 2 more bank accounts that are unnecessary, in my opinion. So while we do make progress on the other side of the coin, the workload in other areas continues to accelerate. For the rest of my tenure here, I believe that next week I'm devoting 3 out of 4 days to Munis to finish up the set testing on the chart of accounts and to start implementing some of the mods. The following week, I've got 3 out of 4 days slated to work on getting the Tyler cashiering on board. The spare day that I have tomorrow, I will devote to normal town business. However, I've got to now get the bank accounts all loaded, the banking information. Diane was pointing out some issues in other audit reports from another municipality regarding grants. So I have prevailed upon the Munis folks to let me work in the test environment as well as the training environment, and actually I'm going to start hand loading all of the grant information that we have so that the next person that walks in the door has a leg up on that. So going through September, I think I've probably got 3 out of the 4 weeks time-wise dedicated to bringing up the GL before I leave. And hopefully Diane will find a candidate that she feels is suitable and that she can work with, and that will be of a great resource to the town. And I want to be able to spend a little bit of time with that person, not only on the Munis issues, but on just some of the financial issues confronting the town.
Right.
So,
What's
yes, I
time
should
frame
come
on
to
the
you
audit?
folks, and
They're working on it now. I mean, they're doing both dual.
So the audit's already begun.
Yes.
They have
Okay,
done,
okay.
yeah, they've done preliminary audit, and they've already started some of the other, but
Just a couple of quick questions, maybe just to understand timeline. When is it that you identified that this is going to be more than what we had initially, I guess, planned for?
Well, I guess I got to the point, mid-July when I knew I wasn't going to catch up.
Okay.
July, I think the 19th and the 20th, I know Diane was at a meeting, and I just said, this is it.
Right.
I got to move this forward. And so I made a decision to move it forward.
And I know you mentioned, was there, part of the budget, was there a budgeted amount for audit assistance? I'm just trying to understand.
Yeah, there is an actual amount that we had earmarked for the audit itself.
Roughly, ballpark.
What is it, about?
for just our audit
Yeah.
here, it's a little over 9,500.
Yeah,
I think.
95, $10,000.
But just this part, that doesn't
Yep.
include the sewer or the school.
School.
They're
Right,
separate.
right.
Have they given you any indication, Ed, that they're going to be anyways near the timeline that they gave us last year?
They're going to be working ahead of that timeline.
Right.
You know, one of the things that, you know, I did discuss with the lead on the audit was I didn't want to be in this same situation as we were last year. So they, I know, are working on the school.
Okay. Okay.
I'm trying to sort through with Haley just how much money we did receive from the state, make sure that our books jive with her books. We have identified some areas where we disagree. I'll be working through those as well as the other stuff to make sure that she is prepared for the audit. And when the auditors get here, they don't have to spend time looking at what passed through here and what the school thinks that they received.
Right.
So, yeah, we're making somewhat better progress. Unfortunately, I will be leaving before I would have a chance to start writing the MD&A and some of the notes to the financials. But again, that's something I will go over with my replacement.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Ed.
Thank you, sir. Next item, please.
Oh, there's a
Order-
recommendation on this one.
Oh,
It's
okay.
to authorize up to 13,000 in additional funds for other services.
That's right. Okay. All right.
I'll make that motion.
Well, wait a minute. Didn't he say he's already expended 13 and he was estimating?
No, we haven't, we haven't, but we're
Okay.
gonna have some ongoing expenses, but I don't wanna do more than 13,000 right now.
Okay, that's why I was asking, because if I was hearing Ed correctly, the fact is he was estimating somewhere between 18 and 20, he may top out at.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, we haven't spent that.
okay.
Okay. And
Motion
Aye.
tonight would be for the 13-3.
Right, we haven't, we've only, I haven't received the last bill, but we've spent about 8,300 right now.
And we only
But-
had how much budgeted?
Hmm?
We only had how much?
95 to 10K.
95 for the audit. This is for other services, though, that he's talking
top
about. On top of that.
What exactly is it gonna cover then? I guess I'm lost here with what's
the
going with what.
county services.
Accounting, anything other than doing the actual audit.
And what are you asking us to authorize? Where's it coming from?
Up to 13,000.
Where from?
Right now, I want to wait and see how the rest of the year goes, because we may not have to designate it from fund balance if we have money left somewhere else, or you can just designate it from fund balance.
I don't want to designate it from fund balance.
I
I'd like
think
to
we ought to
run
wait.
it from
It's too
current year's
early.
operations somewhere.
Yeah, it's too early in the year to,
Yeah,
I
by all
think we
means.
should wait.
So let's hold.
Yeah.
Okay, so by all means, you need us to address that later, is what you, the recommendation then. I make that motion if
As we
that's
get farther
acceptable.
down the road, and we get a better picture, we
Yep.
can do it one and done possibly, too.
Right. Yeah.
Are you seconding the motion, Alan?
Please.
Okay.
All in favor?
Order passed 6-0.
Next item, please.
Order 2016-195, the Maine Downtown Network Community and Trademark Sublicense Agreement.
Good evening, Tracy Stuber, Economic and Community Development Director. You have in your packets, this is an annual fee that we go through. Lisbon is a main downtown network organization, which helps us in regards for grants, historic preservation, and those types of things. In the budget, under the Economic Development Department, I had allocated the membership fees of $1,000. So that was already approved prior to. So I'm just asking basically to move forward with that and have Diane be able to sign the agreement for continue our membership.
Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll
Second. Sorry, that was, Chris is on it.
Any discussion?
All in favor?
Order passed, 6-0.
Next item, please.
Order 2016-196, the CDBG, Lisbon Falls Revitalization.
As you know, this has been an ongoing project for us in trying to get downtown revitalization grant. We came in second when we had first applied for it. We did put a letter of intent in along when we did our facade grant. So we had two programs going at the same time. At the state level, they wasn't sure if they were going to have funding for the downtown revitalization grant because they had enacted a safe neighborhood program. So they pulled the funding out from the downtown revitalization grant to serve that program. However, we received notification last week that money, not all the funds were spent from that new program, and money was put back into CDBG funds. Because we had put a letter of intent back in December for apply for this grant, we were invited to go to the next stage, and that is applying for the full grant amount. What we're looking for is, they have $400,000, and we're looking to match that. It has to be 25% match. We're looking for $80,000, and the award would be $320,000 for us to continue our project that we had originally started, which is the downtown Lisbon Falls areas in ordinance with the connection of the trail, 196 streetscape sidewalks, and fixing up that area.
Is there a motion?
So all
Question?
you're asking for tonight is just set the public hearing, right?
No, two things.
Two things?
Two things what I'm asking for is I'm asking to set the public hearing date for this grant for September 6th. And then in order to apply for this grant, well, actually three things. Is one, to move forward with the grant process for Diane to be able to sign the necessary paperwork for the application. But in doing so, we must have secured the match before we apply for that grant. So we have to say and send a letter stating that the council has set those funds aside as part of our match.
What's the third?
Continuing on with the applications.
Forward secured 80 grand, and what was the other one?
Set a public hearing date.
Thank you.
Where would the 80 come from?
Right now, I would suggest it comes from undesignated fund balance, up to 80,000 authorized, and then what we can use from the Davis Street, that 50,000 that you redesignated, if we can use any portion of that. Once we get a letter back from the state on the environmental, any work that has done in that area after that can go towards the match.
Is there a target date on the environmental clearance review date?
Yes, there is. After this evening, I have everything all set up with the Sun Journal to put the ad in the paper. So we have a 15-day public comment. And then after that,
Public hearing, and then...
it's a basically for public comment, not so
Okay.
much as a public hearing. They can come and look at the paperwork on the environmental review. With the environmental review, we're not disturbing anything, so it's not like we're going out into a field of unknown and digging. So this is being along, 196 and doing sidewalks and that. So it's pretty cut and dry with the environmental review that we're not going to be disturbing anything that would kind of send up a red flag in that regard. After the 15 days that we have for comment period, I would be looking at about September 6th to send it to the state, to the Department of Community Development. And they have a 15-day period of
Okay.
comment. And then from there, we hope to get our letter, and basically, I'm looking at towards the end of September to be able to get quick clearance on it. I mean, the idea of this is we're not looking to hold up the project of 190, of the Davis Street, because we need to continue on that right now. It's, it's something that's been in the plan.
Right.
And-
I'm looking at your number 2, and I'm asking for a very specific reason. If the Davis Street project actually would be greenlit if it's after that review date, the $80,000, can that come out of that same, our local share?
Say that again. So the,
Do we have to come up with the money for the Davis Street, which is 69, or 69 plus 80? Or do I have 80 total, and some of that could be covered for the Davis Street?
well, we already have the money for Davis Street.
Right, but, and we're saying the same thing. So the fact is, what I'm saying in that regard is if we had the 50,000 plus the 19,900 associated to that, all we need to come up with is an additional 11 to make this $80,000
Yes, that's right.
grant.
Yes, that's why I want you.
math.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I'm average smart at math associated with that. I'm not
That's why
actually
I want
asking
you to
for,
authorize
I'm not
up
asking
to
the
the
dots
80.
of the world for another $80,000 tonight. I'm saying
Right,
11
no.
grand.
What we want to be able to do is, if we
are
are securing at least up to the 80,000,
Right.
and then after the Davis Street project, and basically what we have for funds left over, or how it works out.
Right.
Okay. The reason I'm asking is because if Ryan doesn't get the opportunity to speak, and that's the next one on the agenda
Yep.
associated with that, I don't want to give you green light permission and then screw him over.
No, and that's not the intent. I mean, within the 196 committee, we had met, and what, it has been the push all along is to get the Davis Street sidewalk done. There's still a lot of other work that
Right.
needs to go done.
Well,
be
absolutely,
done
and we
in
talked
that
about it at the
area.
workshop in that regard. Is the fact is continue that across that intersection and up to Main Street.
Yes.
And cover everything in that whole area. So
Yep.
you definitely have my attention. I was trying to do the math. Are we talking 69,000 plus 80? But I'm not hearing that.
No.
So you have my support.
Tracy?
Sorry. Yes, and we'll be looking at 10,000 in kind that we'll be able to put towards this, in calculations of work that Public Works will be doing, and for my,
Oh, so right
On
on,
it.
in that regard.
so we'll
we're
be able to do that.
at
But the
At
biggest,
this point, we're asking for a grant.
correct. The biggest thing to know on this, as far as, I mean, because just as you said, Ryan's going to be coming up and going through as far as the Davis Street, and completion of that project, is any work that is done, and this is what I want everybody to understand, any work that is done before that
Doesn't count.
clearance,
Does not count. It clearly
That's
says
correct.
that at number 2.
yep.
I have a quick question for you, if I can. I'm going back to December when we talked about this. If my memory serves me correctly, the reason that we were able to get this money and be reconsidered is because it's a use it or lose it prospect with a hard time frame around it. Is it 3 years? I was trying to remember off the top of my head.
I think, with this one, I mean, our goal, of course, would be going through the process and starting the work. It would be in the springtime. We'd be able to do the construction and get all that done by next year. I don't, within the timeline of it, yeah, you do have a certain period. One of the things to keep in mind with this is like a bonus, is because for the Community Development Block Grant, you can only apply for one grant. We have received $150,000 for the facade program, is because this downtown revitalization program wasn't going to come to fruition. However, because we did our due diligence and
Right.
put
You're
in
on the head of
2
the
letters
list.
of intent,
Ahead of the list.
we're on it to be able to, there's 3 other communities that actually did the same thing. So there's 4 communities going after for this. So this will be it. I mean, if we don't go forward with this, we won't get another chance,
Right.
basically, to have those 2 grants.
So we're in for the 150, and did we get that grant?
We already received that
That's
grant.
what I thought.
Yes.
So we have that, and we're still in the running for this other grant
That
as
is
well.
correct.
Okay, great. So the hard cap on that, forgive me, I'm just on timelines, it's
okay.
hard. The 150, was that another one of these grants that has a hard cap on it? If you don't use it by a certain period, it's gone?
No,
Okay,
no.
so-
I mean, with the CDBG funds, I mean, they give you kind of like a timeline, but they're not going to come in and take those funds away from you. So
No, but if
they
you don't-
work with the municipality to kind of go through and make sure that those funds are utilized, yes.
So are there any stipulations around those, like this $300,000, $320,000? Are stipulations on how it can be regulated? Only so much can be doled out to one, how does that work?
With that 320,000, we have put together, we're kind of just cleaning up we have a plan, and that was a plan that we had worked on before. And that was what we submitted. The work that we were going to do, we worked with an engineer, all of the associates come in, we did the pricing out, and we also working with the businesses. I actually stopped in to see Nate Miller today and told him, oh, guess what, we're back in the running again, because he wants some, within the sidewalk is doing an island and doing some green space right in his area that he's willing to give up. So, and I just wanted to let him know that we are going forward with that. It will give us the opportunity for some new lighting. It will be able to do the tip downs and do the ADA compliance. So the project is there. All we have to do is just update it. And we update it by saying that the town is doing the Davis Street sidewalk. We're also looking at DOT coming in 2018 and doing Main Street. So this really puts us in a good running as far as for the grant, because everything, all of these other projects are going, and it just with the amount of dollars that we're looking at, it just makes it that much better as far as for a project, especially at the federal level.
Thank you.
Okay, so motion, is she, anybody else? No? My motion. She gets the approval to move forward, set the public hearing date. What do you recommend?
The 6th, right?
Yes.
6th?
Yes, because the application is due the 16th, so we must do the public hearing on the 6th.
And my motion to secure 80 grand actually has the 19 plus the 50, and add an additional 1,000 from wherever you see, and $10,000 in kind, and move this forward. Is that too specific?
I think just authorize up to 80,000 from fund balance.
But it includes the it includes the Davis Street project, so we're not asking for additional funds that they
No,
can.
we're not. No.
That's the key point here.
Right.
I'll second that.
We
There you
just
go.
need to show that we've secured
Thank you,
it.
Chris. We secure it with the 80 grand to move forward with this project.
Ward Burnell.
All in favor?
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you. 6-0, passed.
You like to follow that one?
Scott, have a
See you,
good night.
Scotty.
Next item, please.
Order 2016-197, the Davis Street sidewalk.
I don't think this project could be voted on any more times, but tonight we'll change it again. At this point, based on what you just voted on, our intention, what we had discussed as a group, was we want to still put out the paving part of the Davis Street sidewalk to bid. We're pretty much done prepping. We're ready to go out for pavement. So we're looking for permission to move forward with that, and not necessarily have to come back to get permission to award based on, because the dollar figure may be over 10,000, maybe under 10,000, but we want to utilize the roughly 18,000 and change that we had for Davis Street, leaving the 50 for the main project, I guess. And some of the components that we had originally anticipated doing as of the last meeting, those will be held off and go out with CDBG project if and when that happens. And we basically will have the trail paved, we'll have a paved walkable surface from the end of Davis, the end of the trail now at Davis and Blethyn, roughly to the parking lot at Miller's. And the rest of it will be taken care of by the CDBG project. and
If
when
what
that-
Tracy just actually told us, we can't do this until the end of September, your funds would not count for the 80,000.
And they're not,
Would that work within your window?
they're not, the intention was that they wouldn't count towards the 80. Because it's 50, there was the 50 that you had redesignated for the trail. We don't need to touch the 50, that can remain as it was all along.
Okay.
And then it's the matter of making up the difference, if I understand the discussion correctly. I know that we're gonna need somewhere between $10,000 and $15,000 to finish the project where we're at. So, I mean, we're gonna be pretty close to where we were originally with the 19,000 that was left over.
And
Anybody else?
Now, if we, you said that if we, if this is done on a certain time period, the money goes to
Right, I mean, if you want to hold off on the paving and wait until after we get that letter.
We can get
then
somebody
would
to
go
do it at the end of the,
towards- yes.
if we can get somebody to actually do it at the end of the paving, because paving rolls down at the end of October. They're done as soon as they're closing. So you have a 30-day window. If you get somebody that can actually work within that, it'll benefit us. If it's not, it screws him over. That's the reality. Yeah.
It is what it is.
No, well, it really does, because in that regard, it's been how long of your time to actually get to this point with the Davis Street discussion?
Actually
So
get
it
it,
is
yeah.
something that needs to be considered. And then I'm voicing the concern from your perspective, because it is legit. The fact is, it's been a year in the making or more, depending on where you draw the line on this one topic.
Right.
You know, if we went through this process, I mean, we don't know what the contractor schedule's gonna be too, so it may work out for us.
Yeah, I don't think that, I don't think at the end of the paving season, it's gonna be a bad thing for us, because most of those guys are trying to stretch the jobs out as much as they can, as long as they can, so as long as it's favorable weather, and we count, I know nothing about paving, so I'm just guessing here.
Paving plant was open until December almost last year, so.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
and it was
yeah.
pretty warm last year,
It's a great
too,
year
so,
last year
yeah.
for that, too.
When we've had years at Halloween, we were in our snowsuits and hats,
Yeah.
right, so I mean.
When we're rolling the dice, I think we know that exactly, so, but I think is it worth rolling the dice to save that kind of money?
What's your recommendation?
My recommendation.
We just want permission to be able to move forward with this
Yeah,
process. And we
moving
can-
forward. And
I mean,
I'd be
we've gotta
frank,
go- We've got to go out,
folks.
get our prices, negotiate with the
Just get the
contractor.
bid.
I mean, the whole 9 yards.
I'll make the motion.
Second. Got your back, Chris.
All in favor?
Thanks.
Order passed,
Thank you.
6-0.
Oh. There's a lot of talk there.
Next item, please.
Order 2016-197A, Fire Department trucks, 6 extras.
You have a memo from Chief Gallipo. He received some information from Pierce, and as they're going through the process on the refurbishment, they found some corrosion repairs that need to be done. And that's listed in the memo. There's 6 different items, but what he's requesting is to do everything except for item number 2 and number 4. And everything outside of those 2 items will come to about $7,854, and he's requesting that come from his $75,000 appropriation.
So it was already budgeted, that 75K was already budgeted for
It
this
is.
year, so we're not
Yep.
taking it from somewhere new, we're not asking for more.
Nope.
We're just taking what we already budgeted. This is not a hard one, I don't think.
Do we get any indicator of why he took 2 and 4 off the list?
I don't know why he did.
Want me to get him on the phone?
No. Give the man a break. Appreciate it, Chris. I was just a curiosity thing. I make the motion.
Motion? Yeah. Second?
Okay, there's a second, there it is. Go ahead.
No, that's him. Yeah.
Who seconded?
Norm.
Okay, thank you.
All in favor?
Order passed, 6-0.
You guys are so fast.
That's because I slowed the other one to a screaming halt. I could do something to pick up the pace.
Next item, please.
Other business, town manager's report.
The East Coast Greenway, Lewiston Bike Ride Festival will be on August 20th this year, and they'll be rolling through Lisbon sometime late in the morning, and they'll be on our trail system. They did this last year, so I just thought I would let you know, because it's going to be a big highlight for them. They really enjoyed the trail. I went out and seeked quotes for the electricity bid for the standard rate. I did that on Thursday. I guess right after I did it, the market went way up, so luck of the draw again, it worked in my favor. So I did a 18-month contract at, well, just a little bit over 6 cents a kilowatt. And right now, we're just under, we're like 0.59 cents per kilowatt until February. So the new contract will start in March and will go for 18 months. So that's a real attractive rate, because in the wintertime, it can get almost up to 10 cents a kilowatt. So we are going to save a lot in the next 18 months. Just wanted to let you know that. And then on September 1st at 9 a.m., Twyla's going to swear in the new police chief right here in the council chambers. So if anybody wants to attend, I think he would appreciate it.
When is that going to be?
September 1st at 9 a.m. It's on a Thursday. That's all I have to report.
Does Diane have a date on the stained glass at the library yet?
She has not. I
No.
know she's working on it, but she hasn't.
I was just looking at the July report. I just didn't know if she had anything on that since.
Well, she's got the stained glass in.
Right.
But you're
the-
talking about, having like a ceremony. Yeah,
Yeah.
she's working on it, but she has not given me a date.
Okay, okay.
Next item, please.
Department head, written reports.
Okay, next.
Department head, oral reports. Brian Layton, Public Works.
I'd like to say you know exactly what I've been doing for the last month. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer. We have been plugging away at the road work. As everyone knows, the shim and the chip seals are all done, and we're pretty much on Amalfi Drive right now is the last road that we need to prep for paving. Crooker hasn't gotten back to me with a schedule. The last time I met with them, they were talking middle to end of August, so hopefully that means like next week. But I don't have anything official as far as when they're going to actually start. We've probably got a couple more weeks on Amalfi, and then we'll be moving on to the rest of the stuff we need to take care of around town. There's quite a bit of areas with some washouts and resetting some drainage headstones and cutting trees, and you name it. So sewer department guys have been have wrapped up all their sewer main cleaning, which is pretty good. They're pretty much ahead of schedule there, and they're moved on to storm drains. Last year we didn't start doing storm drain work till October, so this will be a good start. Based on the evaluations that we had done, there's about half of the manholes that we need to clean. The other half were in pretty decent shape, which is a bit of a surprise. I anticipated more of that, but as part of the stormwater program, we'd had them all tested. The interns from the contractor that we use came and basically did depths of all this sediment and all the storm drains, and the results were better than we expected. And I guess that's pretty much all I got. Happy to go over anything, answer anything.
I was fewer reports this year after the chip seal than last year when it was kind of seemed to be a general.
Quite honestly, I had one complaint.
Last year.
Is that her?
I heard.
Yeah, yeah.
Is that her?
Nope.
I was just looking at the tread marks on your road, that's all.
Yeah, did we ever?
I had those complaints, but not the dust complaints. They, I don't know what they did different this year, but the dust on
The dust was nothing at my house.
on there was really good. We had complaints on the asphalt rubber, which was done on Houston Street, Farwell Street, and Memorial Street. But again, there was one complainant that I heard and spoke with. But other than that, it went pretty well.
That did a pretty good job.
What are you talking about?
I got a question
Tearing
for
it
you.
up.
Oh, I thought you
Got
were
a
talking
gentleman
about
here
the
that came
Tearing it
just
up.
for this one question.
Think about the work.
When we do
I heard that one too. But
Modenham
I would
Road,
not do that to you.
what's it gonna be, what's gonna be involved?
The anticipation at this point would be, just like we're doing on the other roads, it would be ground up, reclaimed. Areas that need additional drainage work, we'll do that work in conjunction with it. And then if we've got areas that need to be dug out, then we'll do the same thing. I mean, that's what we ended up doing with Amalfi. Around the circle, we're going in and digging that all out ahead of time, and then having them just grind up to where we stop. And we're also installing drainage around the circle there too, that there was never any drainage. So it would be the same approach for Bodenham Road, Gould Road, and Summer Street. And each one of those roads has their own unique issues that we'll have to look at a little bit closer. But we'll cross that bridge if we get a positive vote in November.
So Gordon, when they start doing it, you better be out there.
Who's gonna be the overseer or supervisor of that? When that happens, is that gonna be Ryan or?
You want it?
You want to?
I like that.
Well, somebody to have it, not
Yep.
like the operation we had 25 years ago. That was a waste of money.
It'll be a combination of staff and consultants when we need them.
Okay.
Did we fix up the end part of Moody in front of Gate Inn where that damage was done, or is that
We
still
haven't.
pending?
We contacted the contractor that did the work, and they were going to come out and take a look at it. And we had to do the same thing on Webster Road last year, where they came out and they put some goop down and then put down some more stone in that area. But I haven't been out since last week, and they hadn't done anything as of the end of last week. So I noticed that there's a lot of work being done at one property at that end of town, and I mean, you can tell where the trucks have been coming in and out as well. So last time I was out there, they were actually looming everything. So I'm hoping that they'll be done their work, and we'll see what we have.
That's
to deal
the
with.
upper part by that driveway. I'm talking about down this way where you can clearly see it wasn't
The one,
a truck.
right. The one tire
Yeah,
fryer.
right down
Yeah.
to nothing.
Yes, to the shim.
Yeah.
All set? Pave.
Chip seal is great.
We can do that after. Yeah.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I'm Tracy Stuper, Economic and Community Development Director. As we all know, during the month of July was all about Moxie. It was pretty much the planning and putting everything together. And as always, the Moxie Festival does not happen without all of those who participate and help. And that's the volunteers, and that's our sponsors, that's very few committee members. We are going forward. The dates for the next Moxie Festival will be July 7th through the 9th for 2017, and that will be the 35th anniversary. For those folks out there who are interested in coming on board with the committee, our first meeting will be Thursday, September 1st at 5 p.m. Am I right, Cass? Yep. And some of the big hits and highlights, and I think we probably will see them even expand more, and that was the whoopie pie eating contest. Benoit's Bakery had sponsored that. We had some Moxie-flavored whoopie pies. I wasn't able to see it, but the photos of the kids just trying to get those whoopie pies down.
They were big. They were like this big.
So, and then we had the talent contest. The weather was perfect. It was a little drizzly and rainy in the morning, but folks that were there said that they enjoyed it because they weren't sweating their eyeballs out. Normally it's in the 90s. So all in all, the parade and all the events went off well. I think the only thing that got canceled, and then we just had this past weekend, Mark had the car show, and I understand that that went well. So another event that took place was the ribbon cutting, as we know, for the Durham Bridge. That was a great turnout. I think when we were meeting on that, I figured about maybe 50 people, but there was probably over 100 people that was there. And I believe that you all received a copy of the photos and the booklet. The question was asked by folks in regards to everything that was put on print and marketing for the bridge was Durham Bridge, Durham Bridge, Durham Bridge. When I spoke to the DOT folks, and asked them that question, I says, why wouldn't it be kind of Lisbon-Durham Bridge, which most communities, if there's a bridge that crosses the two communities, it's named after that. And basically, they said that it's always been, that's the official name of that bridge, is the Durham Bridge. So as a new bridge, I would put it out there to council and other folks, if that's something you want to petition or to the state and say, you know, we'd like to see a name change, and that would be working with Durham and get folks on board, and I'm sure we could have them rename that the Lisbon-Durham Bridge. So the other project is the community block grant, the facade program. Been working with the committee members in putting together our application process, and at the same time that I'm doing this new CDBG grant, I'm also doing the facade grant, and we also have a $200,000 brownfields grant, which I'm meeting with DEP folks tomorrow on. So there'll be 3 grants that I'll be working on at the same time. So if I'm not here, there, everywhere, this is what I'm trying to do. This is a great bonus for this community to be able to have that type of money captured in 1 year. So it's been very busy in my office. is a lot of things happening. As we know, the Rumble Mill now has been torn down. They're still kind of working on the site. I went by today. We have another new business that will be opening up downtown in the old Down East building. The gentleman will be opening up a photography studio. When I stopped to see him this morning, he wasn't in, but he's doing renovations to the property, so I hope to be able to connect with him as well. So there are a lot of things happening, maybe not that you hear of out there on a daily basis, but behind the doors, they are certainly happening. I also want to credit the Turner Publishing. They do an edition called Boomers. It's kind of like an age newspaper about featuring different folks. When we were working on the Moxie Festival and the advertising, and they had asked me if I had anyone that I thought would be good for their summertime edition, and I said, absolutely. We have 2 volunteers of the Moxie Festival that been volunteers for many, many years. So in the Boomers edition, there's festival volunteers, Gina Mason and Brenda Rogers. There's this wonderful article on both of them about volunteering for the festival. So we do have some copies here, and I just want to thank them for all their hard work. And also, while we're here, we have a new member, resident of the community, who just moved in and decided to come to a council meeting tonight. So we'd like to welcome her.
If I knew it was a first impression, I might have done better on my behavior.
That's why I didn't say too well.
You knew, okay.
All right. Next item, please.
Is audience participation and response for new items?
No.
Oh, there's a
EMA
new
update.
one. Yes, the EMA update. I didn't see that on.
Well, I'll have Lisa.
On Twyla.
How did I do that, Lisa? Sorry about that.
Thanks for having me tonight. I just wanted to give you a quick update. I promised just a few minutes. A couple things that are of extra importance. We met the EMA directors for the Androscoggin County towns, had a managers meeting, just covered a few things, and I'm going to go over some of those things to make sure that everybody's in the loop. The really great thing about that meeting was that there are a couple of other newer EMA directors, and so we'll have the opportunity of getting some extra training done so that we can include. It's easier to do the training when you have more people doing it. So I should be finished my training before the end of this year. So one of the most important things we covered was the fact that a lot of people are not aware of the fact that we're in the 11th month of a drought in this part of Maine. A couple of towns have already reported that they have a couple of wells dry. There's information online at the county and state level if anyone's interested, or I can, if somebody wanted to email me or talk to me about it, I'd be happy to pass on information. I think the most important thing is if you or anybody you know has a well that's either going dry or has gone dry, to make sure that it's reported to the town office so we can keep track of it. One of the things we're really worried about is public safety, because sometimes people don't realize what a hazard to their health it can be to add water to their well if their well starts to go dry. And so we want to encourage people to have professionals check their wells if they suspect they're going dry. There are mitigation services in place in case people's wells go dry, and we want to make sure we know about those people, and that those people know that there are ways that we can help. So anyone out there with wells, if you have any questions, report it to the town office and it'll get forwarded to me. The next thing is, I know it's all on your mind, the grant update for the grant that I had spoke with you last on. At the county level, all of the applications, including ours, were approved and sent on to the state. So at this point, we're semi-approved. But none of the county's recommendations have ever been turned down. So I suspect that we'll have a good report next time I see you. And I'll make sure I email Diane so as soon as I know how much we get. I asked for a certain amount. I know I won't get that amount, but I am among the top three. I, as a representative of Lisbon, at the top three of amounts to receive because of the amount we asked for. So there will be other opportunities for additional grants and funding opportunities. And I'll be talking with Diane about how to go to move forward in making sure that we take advantage of every opportunity. I also want to just make sure that everybody knows that the 2016 resource inventory for the county has been completed. It was a big project that the county office did to put together a resource list of all the different kinds of emergency resources that might possibly be needed in every town in the county. So I have that list. Public Works has access to it, so do the fire, police, and EMS. That resource guide is huge. Because of the way they've set it up, we can cross-reference it in a minute to find out if there's something that we need in an emergency. So for instance, if there were a flood and Public Works and Fire and Police were working and our resources were stretched, even though we have mutual aid with the neighboring towns, sometimes knowing that there's something in Turner or another further away town that we might not think about immediately, we could reach out to the county and they would make sure that the resources got moved to us. So it could be anything from a heavy loader to personnel to anything. We have a really nice resource list. And I was sort of playing around with it. It takes a little bit of getting used to, but whenever I have the opportunity to use new software, I sort of take that. So that's it. I tried to keep it as short as I could. Any questions? Great. Well, thanks very much, and I'll make sure I let you know as soon as I hear about that grant. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Audience participation and response for new items.
I'm Richard Main. I live on Libby Street. On Route 196, at the town lines of Topsom and Lisbon, the ruins and debris from the former Knight Celotex mill run along the Androscoggin River for almost, according to the tax maps, probably a quarter of a mile. The Army Corps of Engineers have recreation areas. They're located on lands which abut water courses or bodies. The Corps develops whatever exists on the site into recreation areas, recreation facilities, including campgrounds, picnic areas, boat launches, making it accessible for fishing a little bit better. They sometimes do beaches, all water-related recreation. The Army Corps operates 1,965 recreation areas throughout the country in 43 states. Maine is one of the 7 states which does not have any recreation areas at all. In contrast, New Hampshire has 12, Vermont and Connecticut have 11, Massachusetts has 21. The process of getting an area designated as a recreation area, I guess it would be, I don't know if you call it a national recreation area, but it's run nationally, involves getting local support, legislative and congressional support, and available land. I've made preliminary inquiries with the assistance of one of the congressional offices already, and as part of the process, I'm just starting the process of getting, seeing if there's funding, private funding, to acquire the properties to be turned over to whatever entity there is required to have this created, have this built into a recreation area. Support is required at some point at the state level, and a meeting that of the four congressional representatives is being scheduled at this time. My purpose in being here is to seek or gauge the level of support for the efforts to have a national recreation area located or created out of the property identified. As there's 5 properties that are involved. There's 3 in Lisbon and 2 in Topsom. Such a recreation area will enhance both Lisbon and Topsom, provide a riverfront recreation area, including a safer boat launch ramp facility and a dock for boaters to be able to tie up a little bit better. Included in this proposal is to remove some ledge from the river, which they like to do, so that the props of boats will not be broken off or damaged. Is it a long shot? Impossible? My late father-in-law once said the impossible takes a little longer. So I'll keep you in the loop. I hope that I have your support. I'll keep you in the loop with the town manager if that's reasonable, and see if we can do something to take a pile of debris and concrete and make it into something that can be useful for the generations to come. Any questions? I don't mean to blow your mind.
No, I think it's great. I just want to say thank you. Thank you for taking the initiative and jumping out there and identifying a resource that I think we all want to see that become something better than what it is right now. And for you to actually drive by it every day like we all do, and we all have our thoughts on it, but you're actually taking the initiative to try to, what can I do to drive this thing forward, and how can I get there? It's greatly appreciated. You got my support. I'm sure that speak for all of us when I say we're 100% behind you.
You already know you got mine, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Fitzgerald again, I hate to disappoint. I just want to publicly thank Scott Stewart for taking the initiative of doing something about speeding in town. I know police have a lot of other problems, drug abuse, and the drug problem, domestic violence, and a lot of other things, but speeding in town has been an ongoing problem. This summer, in the summer with kids out on bicycles, walking, crossing streets, school starting now. In his short time here as interim chief of police, I think, that's a huge accomplishment, and I want to publicly thank him for that. Thank you.
All right. Next item, please.
Is council, let's see, council communications, there are no appointments.
Councilman Communications?
I've said way too much.
I've got something.
Okay.
If Chris doesn't have any, I'd like to adjourn.
Okay.
Do you see how he moved right along?
Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Motion adjourned, 6-0.
So that was a guy to see the day before? That was a lie?
What time it is?
Did he already boot out?
Right? I was thinking about it. I wish I could come by.
Hey, that's a Marty Roop site. You know that guy. You know that guy.